The courtroom was silent, so silent you could hear the faint ticking of the clock on the lawn, till the judge's words came crashing down like thunder. 5 years in state prison. Gasps filled the room. But none were louder, none more explosive than T.I.'s own outburst. The King of the South, a man known for keeping his composure in front of millions, suddenly snapped. His son, King Harris, was being led away in shackles. And I couldn't take it. Fans are shocked. The family is in turmoil, and social media is on fire. Tiny was seen breaking down in tears, unable to even look at her son as officers surrounded him. Meanwhile, King himself, with a defiant smirk, shouted something back at his father that has left the entire Harris household in chaos. Was it a cry for help or a declaration of war within the family? Tonight, we dive into the explosive drama no one saw coming. A legendary rapper fighting to protect his legacy. A son caught in rebellion and a family divided right in front of the world's eyes. Stay tuned. Hey, this story has more twists than anyone could have imagined. The air in the courtroom was thick with tension. Every pair of eyes locked on King Harris as the bailiff tightened the cuffs around his wrists. The judge's sentence had just been delivered, and it echoed like a curse in everyone's ears. 5 years in prison. A collective gasp swept through the gallery. But it was T.I.'s explosive reaction that stole the moment. "You can't do this to my son." T.I. shouted, his voice breaking a mix of rage and desperation. The guards moved closer, warning him to calm down, but he was beyond control. Tiny, seated in the front row, buried her face in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. Fans who had gathered outside the courthouse could be heard chanting King's name. But inside, it was chaos. King, however, wasn't the picture of remorse. Instead, he tilted his head toward his father, his lips curling into a smirk that only deepened the pain. "I told you, Pops," he muttered, loud enough for the family to hear. "I ain't living by your rules no more." The words cut deeper than any sentence. The judge could have handed down. T.I. staggered back as if the ground beneath him had collapsed. This wasn't just about the law anymore. It was about blood, legacy, and pride. Whispers spread through the courtroom. Some fans on social media live streaming the scene commented that King had completely disrespected his father in front of the world. Others argued that T.I. had failed his son long ago. That this was the inevitable result of years of rebellion. Tiny, her tears streaking down her face, grabbed at T.I.'s arm. "Please just let it go, baby," she begged, her voice trembling. "We'll fight this another way. Don't let them see you break." But I wasn't hearing her. His eyes were fixed on his son as the guards began to escort King out of the courtroom. "You think this is funny?" T.I. roared, his voice echoing off the walls. "You're throwing away everything I worked for, everything I tried to build for you. 5 years behind bars ain't no joke. Boy, you think your friend's gonna be laughing with you when you're locked up?" King didn't flinch. He yanked his arm against the guard's grip, leaning forward just enough to spit out one last line. "At least I'll be free from you." Those words froze the room. Tiny gasped audibly, clutching her chest. Zonique, King's older sister, shook her head in disbelief, whispering under her breath, "He didn't just say that." Fans outside were already flooding timelines with updates, their phones buzzing with every shocking detail. The tension grew heavier as the guards led King through the double doors. The sound of them slamming shut behind him was like a final nail in a coffin. Silence hung in the air for a long, unbearable moment before T.I. turned, his fists clenched, his eyes bloodshot with fury and heartbreak. "This ain't over," he muttered, almost to himself but loud enough for those nearby to hear. Tiny wiped her tears and whispered back, "But what if it is? What if we already lost him?" T.I. shook his head violently. "I refuse to lose my son to the streets, to the system, to anyone. I'll burn down everything if I have to, but I won't let them take him from me." Outside the courthouse, the chaos only grew. News crews shoved microphones into the faces of family members, demanding statements. Fans screamed, some crying, others chanting King's name like he was a hero. In the middle of the frenzy, T.I. pushed his way through with Tiny by his side. Ignoring the flashes of cameras, one reporter shouted, "T, how do you feel about your son getting 5 years?" T.I. snapped his head around, his voice booming with raw emotion. "How the hell you think I feel? That's my son. That's my blood. And this ain't justice, it's a damn circus." Tiny tried to pull him away, but he wasn't finished. To everybody watching, he continued pointing at the cameras. "Don't get it twisted. This ain't the end of King Harris. He's gonna come back stronger, and I'll make sure of that. I'm his father, and I won't let the system chew him up." The crowd erupted, some cheering, others murmuring about his fiery words. Social media platforms exploded with clips of the moment. Hashtags like #JusticeForKing and #Tip breaks down trending within minutes. But behind the bravado, Tia's heart was shattering. When they finally made it back to the car, he slammed the door shut and let out a guttural scream, punching the dashboard. Tiny sat in the passenger seat, silently crying, knowing there were no words to ease the storm raging inside him. "I gave him everything, T," I said, his voice cracking. "I gave him a life I never had, a future he didn't even have to fight for. And he threw it all away. Tiny. He threw me away." Tiny reached out, placing her hand gently on his arm. "He's still our son. He's lost right now, but maybe this is what it takes to bring him back." T.I. turned his head slowly, his eyes narrowing. "Or maybe this is what finally breaks us apart." As they drove away from the courthouse, fans banged on the windows of the car, screaming King's name. Some waved signs of support, while others jeered, calling him reckless and spoiled. The world was watching, and the Harris family could feel the weight of every single judgment pressing down on them later that night. The family gathered at the Harris household. The atmosphere was heavy, no one daring to speak first. Zonique finally broke the silence. "Daddy, I know you're angry, but King, he's been spiraling for a while now. We all saw it. We just didn't want to admit it." T.I. slammed his fist on the table, making everyone jump. "Don't you think I know that? Don't you think I've been trying? I've been there. I tried to steer him right, but he won't listen. He wants to fight me at every turn." Domani King's brother leaned forward, his voice calm but firm. "Maybe he don't want you to be his boss. Maybe he just wants you to be his dad." The words hit T.I. hard, but he didn't respond. Instead, he looked away, his jaw tightening. Tiny wiped her eyes again, her voice trembling. "I can't do this, Tip. I can't watch my baby suffer. I can't watch this family fall apart. What if King doesn't make it out of prison alive?" The room fell into silence again, the question hanging in the air like a shadow. Meanwhile, King sat in a holding cell, waiting to be transported. Surrounded by strangers, his smirk faded as reality began to set in. He leaned his head against the cold wall, whispering to himself, "They'll see. They'll all see. I ain't weak." But deep down, a flicker of doubt gnawed at him. A fear he refused to show. And so the stage was set. A father vowing to fight the system. A son battling his demons, and a family torn apart in the spotlight of the world. The story was only just beginning. And the next move could either save the Harris family or destroy it completely. The night after the sentencing felt endless for the Harris family. The house, usually alive with music, laughter, and chatter, had turned into a silent battlefield. Tiny stayed curled up on the couch, staring blankly at the TV screen that replayed clips of T.I.'s courtroom outburst. Every news station carried the story. Every headline painted a different picture. Some called T.I. a broken father. Others labeled King a spoiled troublemaker who thought he was untouchable. T.I. paced back and forth across the living room, his hands running over his head in frustration. "They don't know him," he muttered, his voice filled with bitterness. "They don't know my boy like I do." Zonique, who had been scrolling through her phone nonstop, sighed and shook her head. "Daddy, the internet's tearing us apart right now. Half the fans think you're enabling him, the other half think King's some kind of martyr. Everyone's picking sides. T.I. barked, spinning around to face her. "This ain't no damn game. This is my family. There ain't no sides when it comes to my son." Domani spoke up quietly, but his words carried weight. But maybe that's the problem. Maybe King feels like he always had to choose sides between being himself and being the son of T.I. The room went quiet. Tiny looked at Domani with tear-filled eyes. "Don't say that," she whispered. "Don't make it sound like King hates his daddy." But the truth lingered in everyone's mind. King's defiance in court. The way he smirked at T.I. and declared himself free wasn't just anger. It was years of resentment boiling over in front of the world, while the family wrestled with their emotions. King was transported to the county jail. The clang of metal doors behind him was like the closing of a chapter he wasn't ready for. Other inmates sized him up, some recognizing him immediately. Whispers spread, "That's T.I.'s son." Some laughed, some nodded in respect. Others saw him as an easy target. King, determined not to show fear, walked with his chin high. But when he sat on the cold bunk, reality gnawed at him. His father's voice replayed in his head. 5 years ain't no joke, boy." He clenched his fists, muttering, "I'll prove him wrong. I ain't no little boy no more." Back at home, Tiny tried to call her son's lawyer, desperate for a way to appeal the sentence. "There has to be something we can do," she pleaded over the phone. "He's just a kid. He don't deserve 5 years." The lawyer sighed. Mrs. Harris, with his record and the way he carried himself in court, the judge wanted to make an example out of him. "It's going to take a miracle to change this ruling." Tiny hung up, tears flowing again. "A miracle," she whispered. "That's what we need." T.I. Hearing her words clenched his jaw. "Then I'll make one happen. I don't care who I gotta talk to or what I gotta sacrifice. I'm not letting my son rot in a cell." As the hours dragged on, more drama unfolded. Social media erupted with a leaked video, supposedly recorded moments before the arrest. In the clip, King was seen arguing with T.I., shouting, "You ain't my role model. You just a man who left scars I can't get rid of." Fans went wild. Some claimed the video proved King's rebellion was fueled by deep resentment toward his father. Others accused whoever leaked it of trying to destroy the Harris family's reputation. When T.I. saw the clip, his face turned red with fury. "Who the hell recorded this? Who's out here trying to tear us apart?" "Zanique, hesitant," replied Daddy. "Some people are saying it came from inside. Maybe someone close to us." The implication hung in the air. Betrayal wasn't just coming from outside force. It might have been someone within the circle. Tiny grabbed T.I.'s arm, panic in her voice. "Tip, you can't go starting fights with everybody. We need to focus on King." "But I was spiraling. If King thinks I ain't his role model, if he thinks I'm the villain in his story, then maybe I need to remind him what being a father really means." Days turned into weeks, and King began to change inside prison. At first, he leaned into bravado, bragging about his lifestyle, showing off his celebrity background. But soon, he realized fame didn't mean protection behind those walls. He got into arguments, had a few close calls, and for the first time, the fear showed. One night, sitting on his bunk, he whispered to himself, "Maybe Pops was right," but pride wouldn't let him admit it out loud. Meanwhile, the family was being pulled apart. Tiny and T.I. fought constantly, their arguments echoing through the house. "You can't control everything," Tiny snapped one night. "You keep trying to be the boss instead of the father." And that's why King pushed away. T.I. shot back, and you think babying him, coddling him, crying over him every damn night is helping? He needs discipline, not pity. Zonique stormed out during one argument, yelling, "Both of y'all are so caught up in who's right, you're forgetting King is the one locked up. He don't need two parents at war, he needs a family that's together." The words stung. But neither parent backed down. Outside the household, fans continued to debate. Some organized protests demanding King's release, while others flooded comment sections saying he deserved the punishment. The divide grew wider, and every headline only fueled the fire. But the most shocking twist came when a rumor began circulating. King had reached out to someone from prison. Not his father, not his mother, but a family member long estranged. Reports claimed King had been making phone calls to T.I.'s cousin, someone who had once accused the rapper of abandoning family for fame. When T.I. heard the rumor, he was livid. So he'd rather talk to somebody who don't give a damn about him than his own father? Fine, let's see where that gets him. Tiny, however, saw it differently. Maybe he just needs someone who will listen without judgment. Maybe that's something you can't give him right now. The crack in the family's foundation grew deeper, and as King settled into his sentence, whispers began spreading inside the prison walls. Other inmates taunted him, saying, "Your daddy can't save you now." The words hit hard, forcing King to question everything he believed about himself, his father, and his future. The story of King Harris wasn't just about a young man facing prison time. It had become a mirror, reflecting every fracture in his family. And with each passing day, the pressure built higher, threatening to explode in ways no one could have predicted. Days inside the prison turned into weeks, and King's tough exterior slowly began to crack. At first, he walked the halls like he owned them, flaunting his last name as if it was armor. But the deeper he got into the system, the more he realized his father's fame meant little here. In fact, it made him a target. One night, in the dim light of the common area, another inmate leaned close and whispered, "Your daddy ain't here to protect you. You just another kid trying to act hard." The words stuck like knives. And though King didn't respond, his silence was telling. Back at home, the Harris household was still divided. Tiny spent hours on the phone with lawyers, desperately searching for a loophole in the case. T.I., on the other hand, grew more bitter, convinced his son's downfall was partly the result of betrayal from within the family. Rumors swirled that someone had leaked more private videos of arguments between T.I. and King. One clip, now viral, showed King shouting at his father during a heated dinner. "I never asked to be your son. I never asked to live under your shadow." Millions of fans watched, debated, and dissected every word. Some blamed King for being ungrateful, while others accused T.I. of failing as a father. Tiny slammed her phone down one night after scrolling through the comments. "This is tearing us apart tip. They're laughing at us, turning us into a damn soap opera." Double quotes. T.I. clenched his fists. "They don't know what it's like to raise a boy who thinks he's bigger than the family name. They don't know what I've sacrificed." Zonique, listening nearby, finally spoke up. "Maybe they don't need to know, Daddy. Maybe what you need to do is stop caring about the world and start caring about King." Her words lingered in the air, sharp and heavy. Meanwhile, inside prison walls, King's situation took a darker turn. One evening, during mealtime, a confrontation broke out. Another inmate, clearly looking for trouble, shoved King and sneered, "Let's see if the Prince of Atlanta can fight without his daddy's money." King swung back, fists flying, his pride fueling his rage. But the fight ended with guards dragging him away, throwing him into solitary. Sitting alone in the dark, he replayed his father's warnings in his head. 5 years ain't no joke. He whispered into the silence. Maybe he was right, but I'll never let him know that. Tiny, unaware of the fight, managed to arrange a visitation. When she sat across the glass from her son, her heart broke at the sight of him looking tired, thinner and more hardened than ever. "Baby, please," she begged through the phone, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Just keep your head down. Stay strong for me. I promise we're doing everything we can." King's jaw tightened. "Mama, don't cry. I'm good. I don't need nobody to save me." "But you do," Tiny whispered. "You need your daddy, even if you don't want to admit it." King's eyes darkened. "I don't need him. He's the reason I'm in here. He wanted me to live by his rules, and now look where it got me." Tiny gasped, her voice trembling. "Don't say that. He loves you, King. He's fighting for you every single day." But King shook his head, hanging up the phone before she could say more. When Tiny returned home, her sobs filled the quiet house. T.I. tried to console her, but she pushed him away. He blames you. Tip. He really thinks you're the reason he's locked up. The words cut deeper than any headline ever. Could tea. I sat in silence, his pride and pain warring within him. Days later, another twist shook the family. A mysterious post surfaced online, allegedly from someone close to King, claiming that the young Harris was planning to write a tell-all book from behind bars. The post suggested King was ready to expose the truth about his family, including secrets about his father that had never been made public. The internet exploded with speculation. Fans debated endlessly. Was King really turning against his family? Or was this another cruel rumor? When T.I. saw the story, he erupted. A book. A damn book. So now he wants to air out the family business to the world. Zonique tried to calm him. Daddy, we don't even know if it's real. But Tiny looked worried. What if it is? What if he's so hurt he's willing to destroy everything just to prove a point? The tension in the house grew unbearable. Arguments erupted daily, with everyone pointing fingers, everyone blaming each other inside prison. King overheard other inmates talking about the rumor, laughing, calling him the kid who's gonna snitch on his daddy. It infuriated him, but deep down, he wondered if it was the only way to have his voice heard. Maybe I should tell my story, he muttered to himself one night. Maybe then they'll know I ain't just T.I.'s son. I'm my own man. As days stretched into weeks, the divide between father and son only grew wider. T.I. poured himself into trying to fix things legally, while King hardened himself emotionally, determined not to bend under the weight of his father's expectations. Tiny found herself caught in the middle, torn between a husband blinded by pride and a son consumed by rebellion. She broke down one evening, crying out, "This family is falling apart right in front of me, and neither of you can see it. You're both so busy fighting each other. You're forgetting that you love each other." But her words fell on deaf ears. The world continued to watch. Each headline louder than the last, each twist more sensational than the one before. And as King sat in his cell, staring at the ceiling, he whispered bitterly, "Let them all watch. I'll write my own story, with or without them." And just like that, the storm within the Harris family grew darker, hinting that the worst was still yet to come. The days leading into King's second month behind bars became the breaking point for everyone involved. The tension had reached a boiling point, and the world was glued to every update. The rumor about King writing a tell-all book refused to die. And now whispers suggested that a publishing house was already interested in turning his story into a bestseller. Tiny sat at the kitchen table late one night, scrolling through her phone. Her hands trembled as she read comments from fans. Some were cheering King on, saying he deserved to speak his truth. Others accused him of betraying his father and the family name. She dropped her phone and buried her face in her hands, whispering, "Lord, please don't let this be real. T.I. Stormed into the room, pacing like a lion trapped in a cage. If he does this, if he really puts our business out there, it's over. Not just for me, not just for him, but for all of us. Do you know how many enemies are going to use this against us?" Tiny looked up, her eyes red from crying. Maybe he just wants to be heard. Maybe he's been screaming for years, and none of us listened. "Don't put this on me," T.I. snapped. "I tried. I did everything a father could do." "No," Tiny replied, her voice trembling but steady. "You did everything a boss could do, not a father." The words hung heavy between them, cutting deeper than either expected. Meanwhile, in prison, King received a letter slipped under his cell door. It wasn't from family. It was from someone who claimed to know secrets about his father's past, secrets that could shake everything. The letter read, "You think you're in his shadow now, but you don't even know half the story. Write your book. Tell the truth. The world deserves it." King held the letter in his hands, his mind racing. "Truth," he whispered. "Maybe that's the only way I can finally be free." Back at the Harris home, the family gathered for an emergency meeting. Zonique, Domani, and even younger siblings sat in the living room as tension filled the air. "We can't let him go through with this book," Tia declared, his voice booming. Zon, Nique, crossed her arms. "And what if he does? Are you going to disown him? throw him away for good." "He's already throwing me away," T.I. shot back. "He's choosing the world over his family." Domani leaned forward, his tone calm but piercing. "Or maybe he's just choosing himself." Tiny broke down again. "I can't lose my baby. I can't lose my husband. I feel like I'm being torn in two." The arguments raged on, but no one had answers. The family was fractured, each member caught between loyalty and survival. A week later, the drama reached its peak when a leaked recording hit the internet. It was King's voice, taken from a prison phone call. In the recording, he said, "I'm tired of living in my daddy's shadow. I don't care what happens, the world's gonna hear my side." The internet exploded. Fans were divided, sharper than ever. Hashtags like #KingV's tip and #FamilyWar trended worldwide. Memes, debates, and endless speculation consumed social media. When T.I. heard the recording, his fury was unmatched. He slammed his phone down, shouting, "He's done. I don't care if he's my son. He's done." Tiny screamed back, "Don't say that. Don't you dare say that about our child." But I wasn't listening. In his anger, he stormed out of the house, cameras catching him as he drove off into the night. Fans speculated wildly, was he going to confront King in prison? Was he meeting with lawyers? Or was he finally walking away from his son? Inside the prison, King heard about his father's outburst. He sat in silence, his expression unreadable. A fellow inmate nudged him, saying, "Sounds like your daddy's giving up on you." King clenched his jaw, his voice low and bitter. "Let him. I don't need him." But deep down, the words stung more than he wanted to admit. A few days later, Tiny arranged another visit, this time insisting T.I. come with her. He resisted at first, but eventually agreed, saying, "Fine, but he's gonna hear the truth from me, once and for all." The prison visitation room was tense as father and son faced each other through the glass. Tiny sat between them, desperate to hold the fragile piece together. T.I. picked up the phone, his eyes locked on his son. "King, you think you're a man? You think writing some book, putting our business out there makes you strong? You don't know what strong is." King leaned closer, his face hardened. "Strong is surviving in here without you. Strong is not needing your money, your fame, or your shadow." T.I.'s voice cracked with anger. "No, strong is standing with your family, not against it." Tiny burst into tears, pressing her hand to the glass. "Please, both of you, stop. You're tearing each other apart. Don't you see that?" But neither man backed down. Their words collided like fire and gasoline, each pushing the other further away. The visit ended without resolution, leaving Tiny broken and the feud between father and son more explosive than ever. As the family drove home, Tiny whispered, "This isn't just about prison anymore. This is about pride, and pride is going to destroy us if we let it." Meanwhile, King sat back in his cell, staring at the ceiling, whispering to himself, "Maybe pride is all I got left." Outside their private pain, the world kept watching. Headlines declared the Harris family broken, while fans speculated about the fate of King's rumored talal. The story had become bigger than just a sentence. It was a saga of love, betrayal, and pride played out for millions to see. And as the sun set over Atlanta that night, one thing was clear: this was far from over. The Harris family stood on the edge of collapse, and whether they would rebuild or burn completely would depend on choices yet to be made. The Harris family's world has been turned upside down, and nothing will ever be the same again. A father shattered by the weight of disappointment, a son fighting to carve out his own identity inside prison walls, and a mother torn between the two men she loves most. Emotions ran high, accusations flew like daggers, and the line between family and enemies blurred with every passing day. But the biggest question remains: where does this story go from here? Will King's time behind bars break him down? Or will it build him into the man he's been trying so desperately to prove he is? Will T.I. and King ever reconcile? Or has the divide between them grown too deep to ever heal? And what about the rumored tell-all if King goes through with it? What secrets could it expose, and what damage could it do to the family's legacy? Fans are shocked. The family is divided, and the world is left hanging in suspense. This saga isn't just about crime and punishment. It's about pride, forgiveness, and the dangerous battles that come when love turns into war. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Is King Harris justified in turning against his father? Or is T.I. right to feel betrayed by his own son? Will prison save King from himself or destroy him completely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from you. And if you don't want to miss the next chapter in this explosive story, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because trust me, this drama is far from over, and you won't want to miss what happens next.